I bought a Tapper colt at the Keeneland September sale and incredibly excited about that purchase. It was a colt that had plenty of size and scope and carried himself with a real presence that drew me to him.
I bought a Tapper colt out of Black Coronas at the Phasey Tipton July sale, out of a Curlin mare, big beautiful horse. We're real excited about him coming up in the spring.
Taprit, standing at Gainesway.
Hi everybody, Dan Illman, Mike Beer. The DRF race of the day for Saturday, March the 5th is the highlight on a spectacular Saturday afternoon card at Gulfstream Park. It is a major Kentucky Derby prep, the Grade 2 $400,000 Fountain of Youth. 3-year-olds going a mile and a 16th. Let's take a look at this field. Our coverage is presented by Gainesway, home of Breeders' Cup Mile winner Caracanti, just a rock-solid racehorse stallion. You can download free formulator past performances for the Fountain of Youth on the Race of the Day event page at drf.com. Access them, handicap along with us. When it's time to play the card, use DRF Bets and free formulator past performances. Mike, you get a little bit of everything in this race. You get the 2-3 finishers of the Holy Bull, Simplification and Donegal. You get the returning Grade 1 stakes winner Rattle and Roll, and you get a very undefeated and very promising runner in Emmanuel, the number 8.
Yeah, true enough. That horse is going to step up in class, Emmanuel. He's looked pretty good in 2 starts so far for Pletcher. But man, he's facing some horses who are already, a little bit battle hardened, and he's not. This is a really, really good race. A big field. I think a lot of different horses could win. This is a pretty nice prep race.
I'm really curious to see how this pace plays out. We throw up the Timeform US pace projector. They believe the pace will be fast. I'm not sure if High Oak's going to make the lead. He'll be fresh stretching out off the layoff, but you'd have to think that the 2 Simplification, who did not break in the Holy Bull, if he breaks, he's got to go. And isn't Marcanian breaking from the rail and stretching out around 2 turns for the first time? Isn't he almost dead send on the lead?
Yeah, that's why I do think this pace could probably get pretty competitive early. I'm with you. I don't know that High Oak is necessarily going to be part of that, but he is, again, fresh off the layoff, stretching out. He wasn't exactly a blazer sprinting as a 2-year-old. So we'll see what they decide to do with him. But there are plenty of other horses in here, Dan, who are going to be forwardly placed.
And how much does this post position affect your morning line favorite? The number 12, Donegal, short run going into the first turn, short stretch. What kind of trip does Arad Ortiz work out from there?
Yeah, I think it affects him a lot. It's not a good draw for him, especially when you just sort of consider the running style that he's shown since they've stretched him out in distance, sort of keeping relatively close to the pace and then, staying on very well late in those races, Dan. They probably are going to have to take him back this time.
The number 1 is Marcanian. This horse is a head away from being a perfect 3 for 3 in his career. We're going to watch his most recent start. This is the Pasco at Tampa Bay Downs going 7 furlongs. He has been involved in this race from the start. He is down on the inside, and it looks like Marcanian might be in a little bit of trouble, but oh no, he finds another gear in the final 1/8 of a mile. He goes on to win with a solid Beyer speed figure. It's all about whether he can stay the trip against this tougher field.
Yeah, it feels like a really tough spot for him. But just to give him the credit that he's due there for the Pasco, Danny earned that win. They sent him up the inside early. He was contesting the pace up the backstretch. The horse that you saw him turn away there in the late stages, the favorite for Pletcher, who looked like he had dead aim, and Marcanian just turned him away there. It was a pretty nice performance. He's got to do better than that in the Fountain of Youth.
The number 2 Simplification has run 5 times. He's already run Beyer speed figures of 90 or above in 3 of those races, including his most recent start, his 2-turn debut in the Holy Bull. Now, we're going to watch the stretch run of this race. But click on the short comment in your formulator past performances and watch the start. This horse was expected to be on the lead. He missed the break. He had to make a move from out of it. And you see him hanging on his left lead all the way down to the wire, but he's game to finish second, holding off the late charging Donegal.
Yeah, he did run well in this race, Dan, with the excuses that you've noted. Listen, I can't say that I was sold on him going into the Holy Bull last time. I guess fair to say that I was wrong about that. He did run a good race. That being said, he didn't really do anything in the Holy Bull to make me want to bet him back in this race. I think this is a tougher field than that one. Yeah, he'll probably break better. He'll probably get a better trip this time closer to the pace. for whatever reason, I'm having a tough time buying into this horse, fast figures or not.
The number 3 Howling Time will make his first start as a 3-year-old for trainer Dale Romans. Now, he is already a stakes winner at this distance. He won the Street Sense at Churchill Downs in only his second lifetime start. And his most recent race, the Grade 2 Kentucky Jockey Club, what a prep that's been. It's produced 3 next out graded stakes winners, and the winner of that race, Smile Happy, came back to run second in the Risen Star with a 94 buyer. Now, I couldn't find the excuse for Howling Time. He set a controlled pace that day and he tired. Maybe he's just the kind of horse that wants something to run at instead of being the target.
Yeah, maybe. That's an interesting point there, because he really didn't run well in that Kentucky Jockey Club. He had no trouble getting clear on the lead in there. When they came for him, he was really no match for that field. I get that it was a good field, but that was still a pretty disappointing performance. That being said, sort of liked his Street Sense the first time they put him around 2 turns, Dan. I really liked the way he finished that race off. I felt like he ran right through the wire. He earned a solid figure for that race as well. I'm not going to argue with anybody who wants to give this horse a chance to rebound here.
If you believe the 92 buyer speed figure that the number 4 In Due Time earned in his most recent race, well, then he's a contender stretching out from a mile to a 2-turn mile and a 16th. Let's take a look at that race right now. He got a perfect trip under Paco Lopez, tracking the pace along the inside, easing out to the 3 path, and he goes by rather easily in the stretch. He's going to drift out a little bit at the end. He did beat a couple of impressive Todd Pletcher trained maiden winners, but you do have to question the fig a little bit, I guess.
I guess you do too. He wins this race very easily, though. He did get a perfect trip, but he did, I guess, what you would want to see him do with it, Dan. He won the race very easily at the end. It did come back a fast race. Now he's got to stretch out again and go around 2 turns, obviously, against a much tougher field. Listen, I think he's run pretty well in all 3 of his races. Would I take the 6-1 morning line on this horse? Absolutely not. I think that's way too short a price. But if he drifts and you like him, and he's some kind of, twice that price, maybe, feel free. He ran well last time.
Dean Delivers, the number 5, 4 lifetime starts, is at the board in all 4 tries, including this effort, a close second place finish in the Grade 3 Swale, going 7/8 of a mile. Now, he faced a pretty nice little sprinter trained by Todd Pletcher named My Prankster, and he gave that horse all he could handle in the stretch. Can this horse stretch out in distance? That's the big question mark. He's a half to a Grade 3 placed miler.
Yeah, he's got to stretch out. It's a really big question for a horse who's improved with every start so far, Dan. He's taken 3 really tough beats in his last 3 starts since he won first time out. I don't fully trust him as they stretch him out for the first time here, but he's a pretty nice horse.
The number 6, Rattle and Roll, looks like value at the morning line. He's 12-1 on the line. That's not bad for a Grade 1 stakes winner as a 2-year-old. Let's watch him win the Breeders' Futurity during the Keeneland Fall Meet. He made a very smooth, sweeping move on the outside to make the lead, and once he struck the top, it was Goodnight Irene. He went on to earn a respectable 81 buyer, not bad for an October 2-year-old, and he beat Classic Causeway, who finished 3rd. That horse came back to run second in that live Kentucky Jockey Club and just won the Sam F. Davis Stakes with an 88 buyer. Now, he was going to the Breeders' Cup. He was going to run in the Juvenile. He came down with a bruised foot. They've decided to take their time, and maybe they'll be rewarded. I liked what I saw from this horse, and he might get a good pace.
Yeah, I agree with all that stuff. I really liked him as a 2-year-old, Dan. I was actually looking forward to betting him in the Breeders' Cup, and unfortunately, he didn't make it. I really liked his Breeders' Futurity win. He did, sit a pretty nice trip away from a solid pace that day, but you saw how easy he won. He was also really good when he broke his maiden over this distance at Churchill Downs. He got got clear very late in that race, over behind horses. They were almost to mid-stretch before he got a lane to run through, and I really liked the way he finished that race off too. I can't believe he's going to be 12-1 in here. If he is, I'll probably bet him.
Trainer Safi Joseph's going to skip this race with Holy Bull winner White Abario to point for the Florida Derby. The substitute, the 7, AP Secret, 2 for 3 in his career with a runner-up effort in between. Let's watch his non-winners of one other than score, going over a mile in his most recent race on January the 9th. And AP Secret got up close to the pace in here, and he did what he had to do as the heavy favorite. I did not like the field he beat. I think this is a big step up in class for a horse that likes to be close to the pace.
Yeah, I thought he ran fine in here. He did get a pretty soft trip up on the lead there. I feel like the horse that's chasing him home there in second, Kitten Mischief, I think that horse is okay. They did ship him to the Sam Davis for his next start, and he was kind of no factor from a tough outside post, but I still think that horse is all right. This horse ran fine last time, but he's obviously got to run better against this field.
I would not be surprised, considering Mo Donegal's post position, considering Rattle and Roll's layoff, if Emmanuel, the number 8, takes a lot of the wise guy money in here. A perfect 2 for 2 for trainer Todd Pletcher. He's 9-2 on the morning line. He's been favored in both starts, and Todd likes to send these horses up to Tampa Bay, these promising 3-year-olds, to get more experience, and he got that with Emmanuel going 2 turns in his second lifetime start. He showed good speed. There was no pace on. It was basically a glorified workout. He ran fast, an 89 buyer. Now, he might have to deal with a faster race flow in here, Mike, but this horse has ability.
Yeah, he definitely does. There's a lot working against him here. He toyed with this field. This was a really impressive win. I felt similarly about his career debut going the 1-turn mile over this track. Just had real easy speed. In that first career start day, just going easy all the way around the track. Saez asked him very briefly in the stretch, and he just settled that thing really quickly. Based on his first 2 starts, this horse has a ton of talent. This is a nice test for him.
High Oak, the number 9, won the Grade 2 Saratoga Special in his second start for trainer Bill Mott, and then he ran in the Hopeful, the major race for 2-year-olds at Saratoga last summer, and he ran an even race that day behind Gunite and Witt, who would come back to run 3rd in the Champagne with an 85 buyer. He did finish ahead of a couple of next out winners. They were going to run this horse in the Champagne. He came down with an ankle injury. They decided to give him the rest of the year off. Going to go 2 turns for the first time off the bench.
Yeah, there's a lot working against him, Dan. I mean, I feel like you want to at least, take him seriously. This horse ran a 90 buyer as a 2-year-old. It really suggests that he's got some talent. We'll just see what he turns out to be. To me, he's a pretty tough read because his career debut, it was just more game than anything else in a race that sort of came down to a blanket finish. But he obviously took a big step forward in his second start. I didn't love his Hopeful. I didn't think he did a ton of running in there, and it's not a race that I like overall. But I wouldn't just, toss this horse aside. I would want way more than 8-1.
A horse that might get lost in the shuffle from a wagering standpoint is the number 10 Giant Game, who finished 3rd in the Breeders' Cup Juvenile to conclude his 2-year-old campaign. Now, he made his seasonal debut in the Holy Bull. He was close to the early pace, and then he just stopped. It came out that he displaced his palate. Supposedly, everything's okay now. He's got a nice pedigree by Giant's Causeway, a half-brother to Isotherm, a graded stakes winner, a half-brother to Geo Game, a grade 1 placed miler. Giant Game's the kind of horse that would benefit from a fast pace up front.
He probably would. I mean, he's obviously a little bit harder to trust now off of that Holy Bull, where, listen, he does have an excuse, I guess. We'll see if they've gotten it corrected. He's 15-1, Dan. I'd be willing to give this horse a chance to bounce back out of that race at odds like that, because at the end of the day, this horse ran well in all 3 of his starts as a 2-year-old, and that includes the Breeders' Cup. And I realize that the Breeders' Cup hasn't necessarily come back a super strong race, but this horse ran very well that day. I can certainly see him rebounding with a better performance here. And if he's 15-1, he's probably going to be the kind of horse I'm going to use somewhere.
The 11, Oh Captain, not a great post position, but he does have some gas out of the gate and might be sent out of there to try to establish some position without losing too much ground. He was a debut winner sprinting over the summer at Gulfstream Park, and then he was 3rd in the Limehouse last time out sprinting. I still think the runner-up of that race is a promising horse. He came back to run 3rd in the Swale with an 84 buyer. This horse is bred to go long, Mike. He's by Carpe Diem. The dam was a stakes-winning dirt router, and he's a half-to-Royal son who liked to go long, albeit on synthetic.
Yeah, we'll see what he does. He's going to be a huge price in this race. And I realize that it's, Gulfstream Park, and you can't really believe anything that happens over this track. I just don't see how using his speed in this race does him any favors. To me, he's just really, really hard to make a case for, but it'll be a huge price.
Mo Donegal, the winner of the Remsen in game fashion over a talented horse in Zandon to conclude his juvenile campaign, ran fine in the Holy Bull. He didn't break great. He fell far behind. We saw him making up late ground. This post position is no fun, but if the pace is fast, he's likely just to drop in near the back of the pack and hope for a run. This short stretch might work against him, but he's obviously a talented horse.
Yeah, I think he is. And I think in some ways he might be the horse to beat in here. Listen, we'll see what Irad can work out for him from the far outside post. If he works out a trip, I'll expect this horse to be gaining a lot of ground late in this race. When you watch all of his starts, that he does sort of feel like the kind of horse who is going to improve as the distances get longer, maybe in the later prep races. So we'll see if that happens. He just needs a trip in this race. If he gets one, I expect him to be right there.
On the also eligible list is Galt, the full brother to Songbird, who finished a tired 4th in the Holy Bull. This race has free formulator past performances attached, and we have a formulator fact for High Oak, who is returning off a little bit of a layoff for Bill Mott. Past 3 years, 3-year-old Dirt Shippers, 2 to 4 month layoffs, 32%, $2.55 ROI. We'll take a look at our top selections for the Fountain of Youth. Mike, you've really been taken with Emmanuel for Todd Pletcher, and I just think maybe this Fountain of Youth isn't the strongest in recent years. It just looks like a good spot for a horse trying a stake for the first time. If you don't believe in Mo Donegal from a far outside post, or if you're not sold on Simplification, or if you're not sure if you trust the layoff horses.
Yeah, all those things are true. I'm just very interested to see what Emmanuel does. His first 2 races, he looks like he could be anything. And I realize this is a pretty stiff class test for him stepping up, but I feel like he deserves the chance in a race like this. He's been really, really impressive. He's got a ton of pedigree to back him up as well. So I put him on top, Dan, and I'll admit, I put him on top before I saw the morning line. I'm a big Rattle and Roll fan. Maybe he needs one off the bench. The 12-1 morning line's too high.
I wouldn't be surprised if my top selection, the 4 In Due Time and Rattle and Roll, their odds reverse at post time, and In Due Time jumping up in class, even with that fig, is a better price than Rattle and Roll. He got a very good trip last time out. He got a very good fig. He's bred to go long. He has tactical speed. I think the price will be there for In Due Time. I'll take a shot. 4, 8, 2, 12. Mike's going 8, 6, 12, 10. It's the Fountain of Youth, and it's a good one on a great card at Gulfstream on Saturday. Good luck.